Since ancient times, the mountains of the Himalayas have been attracting people with their blissful beauty. The snow-capped mountain Kailash has a special place among them. Over centuries, seekers have come to this place, and here, among these mysterious mountains, they hope to find answers to their questions and remember the purpose of this incarnation. From ancient times came legends about invisible gods who inhabit this mysterious space. For centuries, Kora, the sacred pilgrimage around Kailash, has continued. We invite you on a fantastic expedition around the wonderful places of Tibet and Nepal to face the ultimate test of your will and spirit. Travelling to those lands where the great teachers of the past left their marks, to the lost worlds of other cultures, can lead you to find yourself. Here, in Kathmandu, is Bodhnath Stupa. On this stupa meet people who agreed to meet here in previous lives. This is the belief. On my previous travels to Kathmandu, I met the Om group led by Andre. Of course, to me this was a sign that we had to meet again, so I planned this trip. My wish to come to Tibet feels so old that I think I have lived with this wish forever. I have visited China several times and always wanted to make this trip to Tibet, but I thought that it was impossible. My eternal wish to come here was just waiting for its time. There is something here that has attracted me always. I have always wanted to visit Tibet. I love mountains very much and wanted to experience Vedic culture, to see how people live here and how they practice, to have a look from the inside. Of course, I found a lot of videos and photos about it on the internet, but until you personally experience it all, you cannot understand what the reality is like. After my visit to India last winter, I found out that there was a possibility to travel for a different purpose. The problem was that the Tibet trip takes approximately 3 weeks. It's not easy for a person who works in an office to take a vacation for such a long time. Thanks to the gods, my boss accepted my request and I was able to travel. I was planning this trip for more than half a year. I initially had doubts about the trip, but after participating in yoga teacher training and listening to Andre's lectures, I understood that this trip was essential for me. It's necessary to find out about Buddhism, not only from books, but to actually be in touch with it, to see the temples, monasteries, to feel the energy of ancient practitioners and mystics who practiced here. When I was 14 years old, I read a book written by someone who claimed he was a Tibetan monk from Patala. I later found out that he was actually an English writer. He described the reality of Tibet in such stunning detail, the way he grew up in Tibet, how he was told of the esoteric knowledge, the way people live here. With this inspiration, which I carried from my youth, I came here. The story about travelling to the sacred mountain of Kailash would not be complete without the story of the ancient system of self-development called yoga. It It is the oldest science about gaining control of body and mind which, with proper application, will show us new facets of the world around us. Every participant in our trip has their own experience of yoga, but for many, yoga became the starting point of their travel to Tibet. I wanted to come to see Kailash and was looking at different groups to travel with, but I did not want to travel with just any group or teacher, and I wanted to go around Kailash on the Kora. I met the Club last year during the Kupala celebration. I liked Andre and had watched many of his lectures. As soon as I found out that there was a possibility to go to Tibet with Andre, I tried my best to get there. Of course, you could say this was just chance, but really, there is no chance in our world. This aspiration was always there. I felt disappointment and dissatisfaction when I looked at our world. I remember this even from my childhood. I believe that a physical impact on this world is not needed, but that the change must be on the informational level. My search brought me to the Club. I started to practice yoga because I really wanted it. The world has opened up in front of my eyes. Before, there was a fog in my head. To spice up my life, I was going to extremes without understanding why I was doing it. Maybe just to feel that I was alive. Maybe to have the feeling that something interesting was going on. But a more wonderful motto is, change yourself if you want to change the world around you. Yes, my own experience shows that yoga changes your life for the better. Probably it happens because awareness manifests. I started to be more observant in my physical and inner worlds. You are trying to raise your level higher, and therefore you have more power, more energy, more aspiration. Your targets are achieved more easily, if they are to the good. I practiced intensively with Andre Verba, applying a lot of effort. I felt the changes. Before, I had a boring, everyday life. The ordinary social life of an average man. When you practice, you feel how your surroundings change. You feel your mind and thoughts change. Every day you become more tolerant. You react to comments from other people more thoughtfully. Other people can feel the power of the practice in you, and they also become calmer. If you start reading spiritual literature, you change your inner world. In a situation where I would normally become angry, I found the power of compassion. After visiting India, I had the feeling that the entire world is for me. If I didn't love myself, the world would seem unhappy too. My relatives, of course, were surprised to see all the changes in me. But my first encounter with yoga was so easy, with no pressure, because I was waiting for such a change in my life. Therefore, I was not surprised at all. My circle of acquaintances was reformatted. Maybe therefore it was easy, because my past no longer pulled me down. It left of its own accord. My wife Anya is a yoga teacher. She studied in the Bihar School of Yoga for 6 months. She studied Yoga Nidra. She came back and got me interested in yoga too. The essence of it is working with the mind. I have always been interested in single combat since my childhood. The essence of both is the same. We perfect our mind and soul through single combat by perfecting our mind. I didn't do yoga before, because I believed it was not really a masculine thing. However, I felt like my legs were shaking when I started to do yoga. The static strain is no less intense than dynamic strain. The training of the spirit is very powerful in yoga. Only in a healthy body is there a healthy spirit. If you only work with your body or spirit, there is not going to be harmonious development. In a human, everything should be beautiful. Mountain tops surrounded by clouds, dilapidated homes of local people, the shiny tops of the temple's golden roofs and monasteries, the wind playing with the multicoloured flags and blowing dust and rubbish around the empty streets. This is a land of contrasts. Luxury and idleness are part of the daily routine, as are human ignorance and spirituality. It is a quite interesting country. Colourful people, unusual landscape, a harsh environment for living. People live a lowly lifestyle here. In actuality, they are just surviving. At the same time, they come to the temple and probably donate almost all their savings or food to the monks. The people here are sincere, and that is the most important thing. There are a lot of temples. Everything is beautiful. In spite of their hard lives, they seek the sublime. It makes me happy. Some places resonated, and some places were empty, so to speak. Crowds of tourists come here without giving anything, just their low vibrational energy. It consumes the energy of the place. In certain monasteries, you feel that monks just spend time there. It's unfortunate. I enjoyed the services in Samye Monastery. The majority of the monks were deeply into their practice. The day before we touched the prayer wheels, I experienced a childlike sense of delight. I felt happiness when I spun those prayer wheels. It is a rare feeling. I've only felt like that a few times in my life. Coming from the region to Tibet is called the Manasarovar. Padmasambhava cave is not far away from Ksenia, though it is a difficult ascent. The height leading to that cave, as I recall, is something around 4,300 to 4,400 meters. For us lowland inhabitants, it's unbelievably high. We experienced the ascent as a kind of austerity before visiting the monastery. When I went down into the cave and sat in a meditative pose and started to sing quietly the Om mantra, I felt an unusual calm. I felt a real silence of the mind. A full silence of mindful peacefulness, a feeling of safety, a feeling that everything was as it should be. It is what I came here for, to feel the energy of the spirit of Buddhism. Simply put, one feels the energy of calm, of goodness. Maybe it is in the unconscious, but this feeling remains somewhere deep. When one returns to his daily life, he will long after this feeling. Maybe he will start his own practice. In the subconscious mind, the feeling of calm and goodness remains. A practitioner who makes more effort in his practice gets a place closer to the Lama. You can hear it in his voice. When I was passing by a row of sitting monks who were reading sutras, the monk who sat next to the Lama read in such an amazing way, with such a voice. The voice is still in my head. In the sutras, it is written about the unhindered power of speech. Now I can understand what the unhindered power of speech really means. Sometimes after talking with a bad person, you can still feel that energy is with you sometimes. You can feel the discomfort. In the monastery, you can feel that your subtle body has been cleaned up and the spirit of practice is living within you. I want to take this feeling back home. This taste of practice you can only feel when you are around people who practice austerity. Throughout the ages, people have decorated with gold and precious stones that which they believed was beautiful and sublime. The countless chambers of Buddhist temples and monasteries are decorated in such a way. Gold-plated statues of Buddha in precious garments, garlands of flowers, candlelight, shining and bright colours everywhere. All of this is just a modest human attempt to express the elevation that goes beyond the material world. I think that it is all beyond form. Any statue is just something to look at. But if you look beyond the statue, you can understand it is a personification of a certain energy. Through the statues you can communicate with their energy. In any religion, such a possibility exists. In Hinduism, it is Shiva. Hindus have their own pantheon. In Buddhism, it is Buddha with all his incarnations. Last year we drove to a plain field. In front of us we saw snow-capped mountains. I wanted to jump out of the car, sit down, and just look at them forever. It is definitely one of the most significant mountains on our planet. I am so glad that I had an opportunity to visit it. I love those landscapes, ridges, valleys. I'm so happy that I was there. In the ancient Vedic texts of Ramayana and Mahabharata, we find a description of Mount Kailash and the sacred lake Manasarovar. The beautiful Parvati liked to spend time by this lake. Parvati is the wife of Shiva and the daughter of the king of the Himalayas. The description of this place on the pages of the scriptures is not the same as it looks today. Kailash was surrounded by flourishing gardens that produced fruit all year round. Manasarovar decorated it with lotus and lilies, and there were swans in its charming pearl-like waters. In the teachings of the great yogi of Tibet, Milarepa, Kailash was called Dizya. These words have been preserved from the 12th century to the modern times. The knowledge of the glory of the snowy mountain, Dizya, is widespread. People from distant countries talk about it. Dizya is a crystal-like pagoda. The prophecy of the Buddha truly says that this snowy mountain is the center of the world. Its surroundings abound with fragrant plants. They are used to make medicine containing nectar. This is the place of the perfect ones. Here one can find transcendental samadhi. There is no more magical place than this. Manasarovar Lake is situated 4,557 meters above sea level. It is one of the highest lakes in the world. The valley of Manasarovar is bordered to the south by the Himalayas and to the north by the ridge of Kailash. On the scar by the lake is Padmasambhava Cave, where the guru of Tibetan Buddhism spent 7 days of his life on earth. After 7 days, he mysteriously disappeared. According to Vedic culture, Manasarovar Lake was born in the mind of Brahma. It was created to show the power of Manas, the mind of the creator of the universe. Many people believe that the sacred waters of Manasarovar can clean one's karma and prolong life. There is a belief that a woman who performs her ablutions in the lake will bring to this world a virtuous child. The height of Kailash is 6,714 meters. It is not the highest mountain in the Trans-Himalayas, however it is notable by its pyramidal form. Its plains are oriented to the 4 sides of the world. To the followers of Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism and Bon, Kailash is the sacred place. Followers of Buddha's teaching believe that one of the forms of Tathagata is present there. In the Hindu tradition, Kailash is the center of the world and the abode of the mighty Shiva. The length of the Kora, the sacred route around Kailash, is 53 kilometers. Since ancient times, people have believed that Kora helps to cleanse their karma and remove obstacles on the way to liberation. I came to understand, not long ago, that to expect something from the future or from development is pointless. You can create an intention and ask yourself why you want to go there, but what you will get as a result is not in your competence, not under your control. I imagined what difficulties I should expect. I understood that it would be difficult. A month before Kora, I was preparing, jogging in the morning. I prepared as best I could, but I didn't expect that it would be this difficult. Probably it is better when something is expected to be difficult, but then shows itself to be the opposite. With Kora, it was different. I thought everything would be easy. When we went to the north face of the mountain, I faced the biggest test of my life. I couldn't imagine that after a few steps, I would need a few minutes rest in order to continue. Every step was a struggle. Actually, it was a very important experience and test. All your powers have to be used to the last drop, just to reach your goal. All the difficulties we had on the way, we overcame. In ordinary life we don't do this, because there are always easier options. Of course, it is a victory over yourself. In the beginning I felt bad. Probably I had a serious purification before standing in front of the gods. I was very nervous about my blood pressure, but everything went well. Thank God. Everything went smoothly. My hopes were justified. I got what I wanted. I came to the North Face. It was very difficult, but I did it. Before the travel, I had an image of Kailash in my head. I closed my eyes and I could see Kailash, a clear blue sky. I think it was a sign. When I stood in front of the North Face, I saw it exactly as I had imagined it. Every step towards Kailash opens a new space. It's like there are a million doors there. Every door opens. I felt that if I stopped, it meant that I'm just not ready to enter that new space. It's like around Kailash there are many cocoons of energy, and when passing through them, something new opens. There is a lot of danger. Sometimes you walk and feel the resistance. Go 20 to 30 meters further and it disappears. It feels like there are different force fields. You pass through a certain level, then you are given a rest, then you walk normally for a while, then another level, and so on. To explain it materialistically, it could just be tiredness, because the body is in a strange environment, and it is difficult. The body adapts. Then it is easy again. Then difficult again. Then easy again. There are probably more complex esoteric explanations of this phenomenon. The mountain aroused in me a respect and a thrill. The more I moved towards it, the more I felt that it was alive. It might sound paradoxical, but it measured my presence. and its own. And before taking my next step, I was asking the mountain to allow me to do it. And I felt its permission. We talked about the things we heard. The limitation of our perception shows in this way. When we explain our experience, we try to explain it with the knowledge we have in that same moment. We also discussed the sounds we heard. Some people say they were the pipes of Shiva. Some say it was the earth moaning. The sound really was like Kailash moaning. I don't have enough knowledge to describe that sound, but it was very interesting. The nature was unique. I would say an almost unearthly nature. While I was walking, I had a feeling like I was on another planet, in a different reality. Before I could touch the face of the mountain, I had to get through the snow, through the glacier. My legs were stuck in the snow and it was very difficult. But when I finally touched it, I felt my job was done. I felt the power of the mountain, this cold mountain. I had a lot of feelings. I was tired to death. That last 200 meters of the climb was the hardest test. A few steps felt like I was falling. I was the last in the group to reach Kailash, to touch it, which is what I had planned before. Never in my life have I walked so slowly. From the beginning, my walk was normal. Then my step became the length of my foot, then half of a foot, then a quarter of a foot. After every step, I needed some rest, to breathe. When you lay down to get some rest, your eyes start closing. It feels wonderful. You want to sleep. But you understand that if you fall asleep, it would be very difficult to wake up and keep going. Yes, it was tough physically. The last 100 meters in the snow probably took me 30 to 40 minutes. I had no power, it was hard. But when I finally did it, I felt I had done something big. Something serious. I consider this trip as an austerity, which shows me some of my inner problems. And the place itself helps one to reach inner silence. Plus we saw Kailash from another side. We saw Trident on it. We saw avalanches. The view, of course, was beautiful. The scale was truly awesome. The view from the bottom was immense. When you see it from distance, you understand that it is very big, very impressive. But when you stand at its base with a raised head, you really understand just how simply immense it is. The bottom level of Kailash looks like it was handmade. The stones are covered in cement or something like that. I fantasized about it. I thought that it would be an uplifting experience because when you reach something you have longed after, you experience euphoria. I remember when I was standing 3 or 5 meters from Kailash, I thought, what's going to happen when I touch it? I remember this moment very well. I then rushed to the mountain and touched it. And then the most interesting thing, nothing happened. Everything was calm, nothing else. I thought, the flow of energy is about to start. But I felt nothing. I was very surprised. Andrei Verba told me that Kailash gives tapas to those who have been through this austerity, and that it gives also the energy of calm. Maybe this is the explanation, but I was not thinking about it. Yes, I think Kailash is a special mountain. When we went across the rocks, down to the river, I had a mysterious feeling, like I had become younger, like I had become clean again in my mind. My target was to come down, bring my body to the bed and collapse. I heard some girls talking about what happened to them, and I understood why they were crying when they were talking about how they had reached the face of the mountain and what they had overcome to get there. After, when I came down, I felt like I was a kid again. I wanted to cry. Cry of pure happiness. That I did it. That I could overcome this difficult path. That I could show the quality of my willpower. I overcame myself. I did it. And it's finally over. The most interesting thing was that the weather was changing in the most fabulous ways. In the beginning it was sunny, then hail, then rain, then sunny again, and in the end there was practically a snowstorm. When we reached the north face, the other guys were saying, "Come quicker, otherwise it will swamp us." But the feeling was mysterious. I had no idea that I would reach it, but I did, and now I know. A banal example. I practice pranayama for 30 minutes and I just can't take it. My mind says, enough now, stop. But now I can see that it is possible to push myself, and that it is possible to sit for 2 hours doing pranayama, and I can achieve even more. There is no laziness. You just know that you will get up and will practice further. Jai Shiva Shankara, Jai Shiva Shankara, Hari Om. Hey Shiva Shankara, Parameshvara, Hey Shiva Shankara, Hari Om. Jai Shiva Shankara, Jai Shiva Shankara, Jai Shiva Shankara, Hari Om. Hey Shiva Shankara, Shankar Hari Om. Om Namo Shivaya. Om Namo Shivaya. Om Namo Shivaya. Om Namo Shivaya. It's a big mistake when people say they want to conquer mountains. The nature and specialness of a place like Kailash is impossible to conquer. Mountains can allow people to conquer themselves. The man who climbs to the top, instead of thanking those who helped make it happen, screams, "I'm a hero, I conquered it." But that's not right, I believe. Kailash, with the rain, wind, snow and heat, was not an easy climb. The lack of oxygen was purifying everybody. The climbing was harder when Kailash was trying to tear something away from you. It was quite a simple thing. In that moment, you understand what impediment it was that was taken from you, what it was you were given freedom from. And as soon as you understand this, the road becomes easier. The problem is we bury all our resentment and anger deep inside us and avoid being released from it. The difficulties during Kora come when Kailash tries to tear it out of you. When you understand this, the walk becomes easier. It's important to understand what the baking sun is steaming out of you, what the wind is blowing out of you, and what the rain rinses away from you. Then the Kora seems to be easier. Kailash is the concentrated presence of something we are all trying to believe and understand, something we have always wanted to see in some form. That which Buddhists draw in the shape of the Buddha, what Christians see in the form of an old man with a white beard, something we can't explain, but something is attracting us, pulling us towards it. The presence of it everyone experiences. My friend told me that in Christianity, she experiences the support from the Father. She has a big Heavenly Father who takes care of her. But she doesn't know where He is. Going around Kailash, you can believe that it is possible that He has walked here, that it is possible He is present here in spirit, in some kind of concentrated form. I still walk the Kora. It's an experience that you can't end. It's an experience that transforms you. It doesn't depend on me. Even if I think I've finished my Kora, someone up there thinks differently. In India, I was affected by the way people live in poverty, but I felt inspired. The energies were different, but everything was sincere. In Tibet, everything is tough. You are moaning for those who should not be moaned for, yet you speak like a wise man. The truly wise never weep either for the dead or for the living. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor these rulers of men, nor shall all of us cease to be hereafter. Contact of the senses with their objects generates cold and heat, pleasure and pain. They come and go, being impermanent. Bear with them patiently. What is said to perish are these bodies, in which the imperishable and unlimited spirit is embodied. In this text from the Bhagavad Gita, which translates as Divine Song, it tells of samsara, which is the circle of birth and death. The soul has to incarnate again and again in order to get its lessons, to correct the mistakes of the past, to be free from illusion, restlessly develop itself. To simply know about samsara and to be involved in it are not the same thing. For all my 30 years, I was glad that I lived on this planet. The sun rises, there is the moon and starry sky, the trees blossom, the flowers come in so many different colours. But here in Tibet I came to understand that it is a cage, a golden cage. This is samsara. All this superficiality exists only to hold you here. Does a Russian person need Buddhism? I think yes, it is needed. Yes, it's all in the Tibetan language. The sutras are written in the Tibetan language, yes. The monasteries were built by the Tibetans in their own cultural way. But what is written in these sutras does not speak to me of an alien culture. I wouldn't divide Vedic culture and Buddhism. They supplement each other. They are like different facets of the Vedic path. If you want to understand more, you will go deeper into Buddhism. Buddhist culture is close to me. I visited monasteries with such pleasure. I like being with the Om group. When you travel with sociable people, there is not enough time to feel the moment, to be in meditation. When you travel with social groups, you look to the left, you look to the right, and then you move on. The moments with the Om group were precious. The meditations in caves, the lectures. I have something to work on, to read the literature, to organize my knowledge.
Manasavandita Sundari Madhavi Chandra Sahodari Hemamaye Muni Ganavandita Moksha Pradayini Manjula Bhashini Vedanute Pankajavasini Deva Subhujita Sadgunavarshini Shantiyute Jaya Jaya He Madhusudana Kamini Adi Lakshmi Jaya Palaya Mam Jaya Jaya He Madhusudana Kamini Adi Lakshmi Jaya Palaya Mam Adi Lakshmi Jaya Palaya Mam Palaya Mam Palaya Mam.
We leave the desert landscape of Tibet behind. It's replaced with the freshness of green slopes, lush vegetation and weightless clouds. This is the picturesque road to the Maritika cave in Nepal. This pilgrimage is dedicated to the long life of the Guru Padmasambhava and his wife, Princess Manasarovar. Here, according to the scriptures, they got blessings and dedications from the Buddha of unlimited light, Amitayus, and reached immortality. New impressions, unusual places, an unknown culture, and the time during our travels seems to stand still. It feels like there are no big cities, no vanity, no daily worries. Here, one can feel freedom from society. There is no wish to go back. It's like you just came out of a swamp, cleaned yourself up, and then somebody tells you to go back in. It's unpleasant. If you have the motivation to go back, then do it. I came to understand that I was no longer interested in living the same way as I lived before. I began my search for information, and it came to me in the form of articles and videos on the internet. Now I feel the need to give back, because somebody gave this information to me, and I'm not talking about some kind of divine service to people. I know that if I take something, I have to return it back. I believe one has to test a teaching, and, if it is effective, you can advise other people to use it. I have a wish to become a yoga teacher, to help people. I wish to devote more time to Vedic culture. A reasonable balance is possible when you live in society. It's essential because we live here in this time and we need these lessons. We need to go through them effectively. It's bad that we don't appreciate our power to change this world. We think someone else has the power to do it, but nobody can do it but us. Teaching yoga is one of the ways, helping people to get back their sanity and to understand the world is not only a material thing. There are also subtle, spiritual things that can be far more important than dealing with daily problems. I had some worries. I felt ashamed to teach, and I did not have enough flexibility. I tell them to do something that I can't do myself. After I gave my first lesson, all my worries went, because I understood that it was what I wanted. It was something I was aiming towards. I felt the same way when I found the knowledge about the Vedic culture, how to live in the right way, and how modern society degrades people. There was a sudden change in me, both times, so it felt the same. My own experience shows the changes which yoga brings. It's a simple physical exercise, but what a colossal effect. I had a teacher who gave me this goodness, and I wanted to do the same for others. Yoga doesn't finish after a lesson on the yoga mat. Yoga is a way of life. It's an aspiration to gain control over body and mind, an aspiration to control desires and dependencies. As Buddha said, even a reasonable person will become stupid if he ignores self-development. About samadhi and other things. When the ego is strong, it is desirable to get into samadhi, to have a look there, to fly off somewhere, to Shiva, for instance, for a chat, or to Vishnu. But when common sense prevails, I see samadhi as a tool that manifests at the right time, when I can use it in the best way. It is hard. Especially for the ego, it's tough. When you see that someone has a lot of abilities, powerful tools with which he can change reality, you think, I wish I could do that too. But I am satisfied with what I have now, and I learn and hope that one day I will get these new tools after learning effectively, using what I have. I don't think it's a trip for everybody. For some, this trip will bring a lot of suffering, like any austerity. If you really want it, like, for example, fasting, then it will be for the good. But if you are not morally ready for it, then you will suffer. But if someone wants to experience the culture, then he should visit Tibet, Kailash. It does make you stronger. Before travel, it is recommended to practice a healthy lifestyle. For at least 6 months before, practice yoga to prepare the body for the test. Otherwise, it will be a shock when you are climbing on the Dramala Pass, feeling like you are dying there, and not able to reach it. Of course, you must prepare yourself. My personal opinion is that physical training has nothing to do with the Kailash trip, only the energy aspects. The more inner problems a person brings to the Kora, the more difficult it will be for them. But, at the same time, you need to understand that it is possible for a short period of time to solve your inner problems with the energy of Kailash. Some people might not experience these changes because they are holding on to their problems. But I believe if those people do step in this direction, then in the next life, they can go further. Why did I come here? It's my second time. In reality, once is enough if you only want to go and see what's there. But if I get another opportunity to come here, I will. I am continuously aware of the positive changes that it brings me, and in the future I will seek it out again. But it's difficult to express with words. Simply put, I want to return to this place. Coming here in order to find a spiritual path or enlightenment means asking yourself some questions. Your inner dialogue and personal decision will help you understand what place to go to. At least try to get there. If it's not meant to be, then the trip will not be possible. A lot of people try to get here, but have problems with their visa or flight or something. If you have an opportunity to visit the mountain, then you should. We don't know what will happen in a year or two. Maybe the access will be shut here. There are certain powers who could do this. Not everyone can bear the trip. Not everyone needs it. And not just anyone can understand us. Not everyone can understand why we sing the mantra Om before eating, or why we went to some mountain instead of spending time on a beach. I think 99% of people will not understand us, unfortunately. There is an opinion that only those who have an invitation from Lord Shiva can come to Kailash. Maybe it's possible for you.
Sadyo jatam prapadyami, sadyo jataye vai namo namah. Bhave bhavena te bhave bhavasvama, bhavodbhavaya namah. Devaya namo, Jeshthaya namah, Shreshthaya namo, Rudraya namah, Kalaya namah, Kalavikarnaya namo, Balavikarnaya namo, Balaya namo, Balapramathanaya namah, Sarvabhutadamanaya namo, Manonmanaya namah. Thagore-ebhyo, Gora Goratarebhyah, Sarve-ebhyah, Sarva-sharve-ebhyo, Namaste astu Rudra-rupebhyah. Tatpurushaya vidmahe Mahadevaya dhimahi, Tanno Rudra prachodayat. Ishana sarva-vidyanam, Ishvara sarva-bhutanam, Brahmadipati, Brahmanodipati, Brahma Shivo me astu sada Shivo. Namo Hiranyabahave, Hiranyavarnaya, Hiranyarupaya, Hiranyapataye, Ambikapataya, Umapataye, Pashupataye, Namo Namaha. Satyam param brahma, purusham krishna pingalam, urdhvaretam virupaksham, vishvarupaya vai namo namah. Sarvo vai rudrastasmai rudraya namo astu, purusho vai rudrasanmaho namo namah. Vishvam bhutam bhuvanam chitram bhuta jatam jayamanam jayat. Sarvo kesha rudrastasmai rudraya namo astu. Kad rudraya prachetase nidushtamaya tavyase, Voce mashantamahum hride, sarvo kesha rudrastasmai rudraya namo astu.
If you have the opportunity to take part in the trip, don't miss the chance. We hope to see you there.